Why do we keep talking about this guy, man? Well, it's because everybody else keeps talking about him, and all of y'all watch the gosh darn videos. It's like clockwork here. I just respond to the gosh darn article, and everybody gets mad in the comments because the guy isn't traded yet. But today, we have ourselves a new chapter in what I'm going to be calling the Summer of Mason, the McTavish sweepstakes of 2025-2026, because we have ourselves yet a new angle, I think is the right way to describe it, when it comes to McTavish and his NHL future. Yesterday we had spoken about the idea of an offer sheet. Today we are talking about a trade. Because currently, the 22-year-old forward is unsigned. Maybe by the time this video is published on YouTube, the guy is already signed, but at the time of recording this audio, he is without a contract, and as a 22-year-old 6'1", 218-pound center who had scored 52 points in 76 games played last season, Mason McTavish is pretty good. And projecting into the long term, this is a guy who could be a very, very solid, defensively minded, top penalty killing, 65, 70-point caliber center who is just a total nightmare to deal against and a really good player to have on your team. So, if it's not an offer sheet, it could be a trade. Or, of course, he could just re-sign in Anaheim and this entire saga would have gone to rest with no climactic finish. But still, we had ourselves an article that was published yesterday on rg.org by James Murphy. I almost felt bad pre-recording and uploading the offer sheet video yesterday because this article came out shortly after, and it's quite the doozy here. Turns out, we might have ourselves a front runner in the Mason McTavish trade sweepstakes, and it comes to us from Murphy and rg.org's source, who says that the Steve Yzerman and Pat Verbeek relationship may help the Red Wings land McTavish. Oh boy, baby. Let's dive into this article. It'll be linked in the description. We have a bunch of new info to go off of from an unknown NHL source. But the key takeaways from this article go as follows. Firstly, it's apparent that the Red Wings are one team showing serious interest in a trade for Anaheim Ducks star Mason McTavish, sources tell RG. Number 2, there is a history between GMs Stevie Y and Pat Verbeek, which could help facilitate a deal. And number 3, McTavish has found his name in the rumor mill all offseason, with the Montreal Canadiens and Carolina Hurricanes also keeping tabs on him. Now, Carolina, y'all just back off here. This is our mid-teams battle going out there. We want to see Mason McTavish go over to a team that's on the outside looking in, not a team that consistently makes the gosh darn third round, man. If Carolina were to get McTavish too, oh my gosh, good luck to the rest of the Eastern Conference. But let's dive into this piece and read what it is an executive source told RG on Tuesday night. This is an NHL executive source. I think there's a better chance now that the Ducks keep him, but teams are still trying to get him from the Ducks and wondering where this is going, and it's still in a circling pattern. This source goes out there and says, I've heard the Montreal Canadiens and Carolina Hurricanes have been keeping tabs. But one team I keep hearing that has continued to show strong interest is the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, there's a history there with Pat and Steve, and I really think Steve sees McTavish as a player that would clearly change the whole dynamic of his team up the middle there. And, okay, now we are getting into, do you want to say it's like extra behind-the-scenes camaraderie here? If Pat Verbeek and Stevie Y are in cahoots with one another because of their glory days from yesteryear, is there some sort of a friendly, hey, you scratch your back, I'll scratch yours, you got a guy that I want, I can give you some draft picks? Is that going on here? Who really knows? The article dives into it and says, after playing together with the Red Wings from 1999 to 2001, Red Wings GM Stevie Y and Ducks GM Pat Verbeek worked together in hockey ops for Detroit from 2006 to 2010, with Yzerman serving as VP of hockey operations and Verbeek as a pro scout. When Yzerman left Detroit to become the GM of the Lightning in 2010, he brought Verbeek with him and made him the director of pro scouting for 2 seasons, and then the assistant GM and director of player personnel. Yzerman and Verbeek went on to help build the Lightning into a perennial Stanley Cup contender, but they both returned to Detroit in 2019, with Yzerman becoming the new GM and VP of hockey ops for the Red Wings, and Verbeek assuming the role of assistant GM and GM of the Grand Rapids Griffins, until he was hired as the GM of the Ducks in 2022. Pat Verbeek, man, go out there and help your former team. Former team in more ways than one. You were a player, you were an executive, twice, and you're all buddy-buddy with Stevie Y. You follow this guy everywhere he goes. Why not help out your buddy? Interesting development here. The article then talks about McTavish, talks about his projectability, plenty of trade speculation around this dude. However, as one NHL player agent recently pointed out to RG.org, with the Ducks having $20.5 million in cap space, not many NHL owners were likely to sign off on their GMs throwing down the NHL offer sheet gauntlet. This is exactly what we had spoken about yesterday, how owners don't really want to use offer sheets because firstly, they're the ones that are going to be paying it. Secondly, if the offer sheet doesn't work, then it's like, all right, well, you just raised the market and the rest of the owners are going to look at the first owner like, hey, your team raised the market. How dare you? Screw you, buddy. And thirdly, teams just don't want to be embarrassed. Like, oh yeah, we're going to sign this guy to a boatload of money and we're going to piss off all the other owners. There is some sort of a gentleman's old man's club going on over there. Okay, not a gentleman's club. That's a totally different thing. My apologies there. But if we scroll down and read some of the extra stuff, this is where the article ends off on, in regards to Detroit and Mason McTavish. He remains a trade target, despite the lack of offer sheets. But according to one NHL executive source who has been involved in some talks on McTavish, Ducks GM Pat Verbeek continues to make it clear their main priority is still to sign the guy. Unless you're willing to get creative and knock Pat's socks off with a monster offer, I don't see McTavish getting traded at this point, the source told RG recently. A right shot, top 4, and future top pairing defenseman would be the starting point from what I know. I don't see the Wings moving more at Cider, so you're likely talking Axel Sandin Pellikka. ASP 20 was drafted 17th overall at the 2023 NHL Draft and is entering the first season of his 3-year ELC. After signing last spring, the 5'11", 185-pound defenseman had 1 assist in 2 games for Grand Rapids. So, is this what the Anaheim Ducks would want? Axel Sandin Pellikka for Mason McTavish? I know one of them is under contract, the other is not at the time of recording this audio, so could there be some interest here? I, for one, am thinking about the Anaheim Ducks and their line combinations for the 2025-2026 season, and I'm going, well, wait a minute, this team, they've got a bunch of interesting defensemen here. Of course, they just added Jacob Trouba. Radko Gudas is their captain. But when it comes to young guys, I mean, Pavel Mintyukov and Olen Zellweger, these guys were studs developing in the CHL. Jackson Lacombe was a super underrated guy. Potential top pairing player this upcoming season. You still have Tristan Luneau, who is a really good prospect. I don't know if really the Anaheim Ducks have room for another young defenseman to step in, considering the youth and considering that their only older guys are these two, Gudas and Jacob Trouba. Doesn't seem like they'd be willing to sacrifice minutes for any of those guys, so I just kind of wonder what the Ducks' main priority would be if they would go out there and acquire ASP. Is he somebody that I think really moves the needle? I'm not too sure. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But how do you feel about this assessment that Steve Yzerman may have himself a golden ticket to acquiring Mason McTavish, all in his relationship with Patty Verbeek. Do you believe it? Do you not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.